Section 179, a very misunderstood concept in business, primarily because it's incredibly complex. I could make this video an entire hour just talking about all the ins and outs of Section 179, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you a couple of basics, and then hopefully you'll have some good questions to ask your CPA, who I will encourage you to call at the end of this video. Or you can call me. My contact information is always at the end. So many of you have watched my previous videos on depreciation and amortization and understand that depreciation means that you take an asset that is going to be working for your business for more than a year and you expense it over time, which means you take a little bit the first year, you take a little bit the next year, and so on and so forth. However, there is the Section 179, which is a tool that the government has allowed both small and large businesses alike to use, and it can be used strategically under certain circumstances. What the Section 179 allows us to do is to depreciate an asset that you've purchased in full 100% in the year that you have purchased and placed it in service. Now that means we're not expensing it over time, we're taking it all at once. But there are a whole lot of rules that go along with that. For example, the types of assets that you get to Section 179. You also have to make sure that you're using it for more than 50% business, which sounds kind of like a duh statement because, who isn't purchasing assets to use 100% for business? But wait, in my experience, for example, with my small business owners, they'll very often purchase a computer that they're using for both business and personal because nobody wants two computers roaming around. And we have to determine whether or not that is going to be a depreciable asset that qualifies for Section 179. Another example of an asset that you might purchase that could be used for both business and personal use are vehicles. So these are things that you need to be keeping in mind. Also, you are not allowed to Section 179 more than just over $1 million. It's, I think, $1,040,000 of assets. And they actually cap that at about 2.6 in purchases of assets, 2.6 million, just short of that, actually. So there are a lot of things that you have to be keeping in mind. The other thing is the Section 179 is only going to work if you are earning a profit in your business. If you are currently accruing a loss, the Section 179 isn't going to work with you, and you're going to want to use the depreciation over time because you can still take depreciation with a loss. With a Section 179, however, you can only take up as much as you actually have earned in terms of profit. So if you bought $100,000 worth of assets that you want a Section 179 in a year, and you only have $50,000 in profit that year, you're only going to get $50,000 of Section 179. And I'm sure many of you are asking, what happens to the other $50,000? Well, it gets depreciated like normal. You get depreciation that first year, and then you depreciate the rest of it over time. And this is why you hear about so many businesses not paying taxes, because they're utilizing depreciation in Section 179 to their advantage to reduce their profit to almost, if not nothing, and then you don't pay taxes on nothing. So that is some of the power of the Section 179. I do know that I have to call some clients towards the end of the year, usually around the last quarter. I start making these calls and ask them to please purchase assets because the Section 179 can be used strategically. But again, there are restrictions in terms of the types of assets and how they are used that make or break whether or not you qualify for using the Section 179. So as always, be sure you call your CPA, call me, and talk about what you have purchased or what you plan to purchase. Always calling your CPA before you do something is a great idea so that you can determine how it's going to affect your business. All right, everybody, see you next week.